Hi, welcome to Ed Talks Millionaire Mindset 2023. Now, I've been talking about earning online and all that. This is different. This is a little challenge for you for 2023. Now, what you probably do not know is that in my relatively not so long lifespan, I've worked with 4 multi-millionaires. And I've picked some things from them, some inspiring, some not so inspiring. Have you ever been uninspired by someone who is doing so well? It's because you're miles apart from where they are, in that you don't even see how you can get there. Sometimes we need people closer to where we are to actually be inspired. They will actually have a better understanding of where we can start. That's me, not yet multi. So I've picked out 4 traits that I have analyzed from all these people I have worked with, and they cost absolutely nothing. Their behavior in nature, but they make a great deal of a difference. I've tried them for years and now they're part of my habit. I just thought I would share this with you. I've debunked them into 4 major categories. Going into 2023, I would really like you to attempt doing this. It's earnings, negotiation, financing, and people. These are traits or areas of your life that I believe you'll benefit greatly by understanding how they work together. Let's talk earnings. Now, earnings are what you make, whether it's your salary, whether it's from your business, whether it's from interest somewhere or from your stocks, etc., whatever money you earn, as long as it's legal. But let's consider what a rich man and a poor person will do with their money. And keep in mind, poor is just a state of mind. It's not a permanent state of anybody. Assume both a rich person and a poor person get $1,000. Yeah, he gets $1,000 too. Let me tell you what this guy will do. He will split out his money or pay out his money in 3 dockets, literally. And he will do this following the 50-30-20 rule. Yeah. What this rule says is 50% of your money or of your earnings will go to your needs. 30% of your earnings will go to your wants. 20% of your needs will go to savings. This guy, in his mind, he intends to save. He starts out wanting to save, and then he has all the other things as they come. He's putting out fires. Now, that means, in this case, this guy will have $500 going for his needs, rent, and all that kind of stuff. He will have his wants, which are $300, and you'll have savings, $200. The difference between this guy's saving and this guy's saving is he treats saving as an expense. When he receives his money, he pays out his savings to another account immediately. This guy wants to save, but he believes saving is the surplus of what remains after you spend, which there is never any. So when this guy gets this money, he will split it out to this, and that is why you'll find you'll ask somebody who you believe has a lot of money, could you help me with something? Could you help me with this money? And he says, no, I don't have any money. Because in his mind, he has already institutionalized all this money into dockets. This he has already spent halfway off. This is already out of the account. This is what is left to survive on. Now, wants are things that you absolutely do not need. The sky will not fall if you don't get them. Like a pair of shoes, your clothes. Yeah, I don't exactly need a set of new clothes tomorrow. My wife will probably need those, but I don't need those. I won't die, right? So with this mindset, you never really have that much money to burn. Whereas this guy burns all this money, and in the long run, at the end of a year, this guy will have $2,400 that he still cannot easily access because he puts it away the moment it comes in. This guy will be wondering what happened. So this is how in 1 year, 2 people earning the same amount one has probably done more with his money and with more to spare. The other hasn't done too much with it. So that is that's how the difference between rich people and poor people dealing with their income comes in. Let's talk negotiation. Well, this is nothing new to the poor. We bargain and haggle a lot. But you would imagine the rich don't negotiate too much because they should be having the money. The difference is that they negotiate a lot less, but for things worth a lot more. And from the poor mindset, I'll give you the two comparisons still. For our poor buddy and our rich buddy. For our poor buddy, he negotiates on price. Purely. The rich negotiate at two levels. On price and time. Let's start with our poor buddy. If he sees something nice, a piece of land, anything valuable, and he has only $200 for it, and they tell him, no, it's $600, he'll say, no, I'll give you $300. If the guy says, I will not take that, too bad, I can't afford it. Thank you very much, bye-bye. The rich will start off in a similar way. He'll try to get it for a lower cost. Yeah? So probably same thing, he'll say, I'll give you $200 for it. If this guy says, no, give me at least $400, he will then switch gears and counter offer. He will say, I can give you $400 if you allow me to pay for it over 4 months. This conversation is long over because he doesn't have the money. This guy is having another conversation over time. So many times you'll find for people selling, once they can't agree on a price, or they set their price and they won't budge, if you bring in an area of time, they will strive to meet you halfway. And you'll find that time is always the deal breaker. Someone will accept the money because the vendor or the seller will feel he's making a win, and he will accept the terms. He may maybe negotiate on these 2 months, maybe 3 months, but all in all, time is in many times as good as price in itself. I'll give you one live example for myself. There's a time I was buying a big piece of land, and the guy couldn't budge from his price. So we negotiated and we agreed on terms over time. And what people do not know about payment terms over time is it builds a relationship. It builds a relationship. But keep in mind, for you to negotiate on time, you must be credible and you must really know how financing works, which takes us to our third item, financing. So many people think of this as acquiring money or getting a loan. It's just one part of it. To start with, just the knowledge of financing. The difference between the rich and the poor is they have options. The rich, and then we have our poor guy here. These guys have options. Now, options doesn't mean that you will take them. And I've experienced this firsthand. If you go into any business deal and you show that you have options, you are that much more credible. So, sticking to our story from the previous item. So, assuming you want to negotiate on time, how do you then come across as credible? Know what it takes. So, for example, there's so much information that is almost free, but people just never go into it. For example, to get any kind of financing, you need a financial card. How many of you have a financial card? I believe a very, very small percentage. And the financial card doesn't commit you to a loan or anything that will make you broke. A financial card costs under $10, about 25,000 shillings in Uganda. But what that does, and you go into any bank, you ask for a financial card, they'll take your picture, take your ID, and they'll give you a financial card. But what that financial card does, it opens you up to options. So, you can take a mortgage, you can take car loan financing, you should even be able to do an overdraft. Now, you haven't committed to any of these, but because you have these options, you constantly, if you get a financial card, you can walk to your bank and say, look at my account, how much can I get, and in how long? Is it possible for me to get an overdraft? In how long? Having these options and knowing how long they take will always make you confident when you're discussing the time effect, because time allows you, you're paying slightly more, but it buys you time, but you also have a fallback position. And I'll say to you, for example, if I wanted to buy a piece of land and the guy won't budge, I'll say, can I pay for this over 9 months? He'll probably say, no, I'll give you 4 months. Now, 4 months is stretching it for myself. But because I know how long each one of these takes and works, I can go in for that because I know should everything fail, I'll not go under. I'll probably be 1 month late and the amount to pay is very little. So I don't have to pay the whole amount for any of this stuff. I'll just take a very little money with any of these options and I'll be able to finance it. And the other approach is take an example of rent, which is more within poor people affordability. If you pay for the first month, most landlords will get you to pay 3 or 4 months in advance. Say you pay 4 months in advance. What this guy is going to do, he's going to take a holiday for 4 months until his rent is up, and then he has to look for the money. What the rich guy will do, maybe the first 2 months he's trying to recover. By the end of the second month, he's going to start paying monthly rent. Every month he's going to pay. What does that do? It gives him a buffer of about 2 months. So his mindset is completely different now because he can afford to go 2 months and make decisions like he's not going to die tomorrow or get kicked out of the house. So if you're paying your rent, make a big step in 2023, pay maybe 2 months, and don't take a holiday for 2 months. Keep up with your monthly payments. That means you don't think that you have excess money because you're not paying rent, but it gives you a buffer for when things are very difficult. At least you know you can spend 2 months sleeping in a house as you're making anything else that has gone wrong right. Let's move to the next piece. Let's talk people. Now everyone believes they have this figured out because we deal with people, we hang with people, we are people, right? But it's very interesting what the rich or how the rich relate and how the poor relate. Let's assume these guys both share a friend, and this friend is called, say, Joe. Joe is a good fella, good heart, fairly well-to-do. Maybe Joe, we estimate or anticipate that Joe always has about $5,000 on him, or he can afford it very easily. What this guy will do is he is going to work very, very hard to make sure that Joe believes he wants to be with him or he likes his company for anything other than the money. In other words, if this guy gets a $200 problem, he'll not go to Joe. If he gets a $1,000 problem, he will not go to Joe. He would rather look anywhere else and collect from 10 other people who have $10. He won't go to Joe. If anything, he is going to strive to do Joe favors that he can collect on. So Joe's car breaks down. No, I'll do that. No problem. Joe wants to give him transport for his troubles. No, don't mention it. What are friends for? Joe has a function. This guy will be there. He'll either give him some money or time, but he is there for anything other than Joe's money. In fact, as far as Joe is concerned, this guy is of great benefit to him and he's trying to do so much for him. He's casual, so he doesn't come across as extremely needy or as somebody with an angle, but as somebody who really cares for the well-being of Joe and someone who, he's not over-trying, so don't over-try. But be casual, but don't be needy, right? So as a result, this guy becomes really comfortable with Joe, and Joe feels the same way. And Joe is waiting to make it up to this guy the one day he will ask. And that ask won't even have to be money. This guy may want Joe to vouch for him somewhere. That would be currency even bigger than the $5,000 anyone would try to access about Joe. Now, let's talk about this guy because remember, Joe is a shared friend. This guy is going to look at Joe as a secondary bank account. Joe, help. Joe, come and rescue me. Joe, lend me money. Joe, do you know anyone? Joe, can you come and help me with this? Joe, send me some more money. Joe, help me, my car is broken down. Joe, help me, they're kicking me out for rent. So he's asking for $10, $20, $50, $15, $30, $100. Joe will become so exhausted that he will not even be willing to give him the next $50 should that time be up. So in this case, completely different mindset. Joe wants to relate with this guy because he feels this is not someone, because believe me, rich people are so used to people taking money from them. So it is so refreshing to find someone who will not take money from them or who will not try hard or someone who genuinely wants to make rapport with them. So That is the difference. And what happens now is, with this rich guy, all these people that he has treated like that become a currency. I'm not saying never get money from a rich buddy, but have your dockets. I have a guy for a $1,000 problem. I have a friend for a $10,000 problem. I even have a friend for a $100,000 problem. So I would not bother a guy for my $100,000 problem guy. I would not ask him for $50. Even $2,000, I would never ask him for that kind of money. I'm keeping him for the rainy day. Should I find a $100,000 problem or business deal, then I'll come to this guy. I'll come to collect. But all these other guys, so have your dockets. Don't go around stressing a person who can do a lot more for you with a lot less. Have your dockets. Yeah. So this guy will rank up all these currencies, which may not just be people giving him back money. Because they feel they are now friends, it will be doing him favors. It will be connecting him to the next big business deal, connecting him to the next big gig, next big deal, and all that kind of thing. So that is how he does that. And at the end of all this, he's a lot richer, even with everything being the same, than this guy who is called Joe give me this, Joe give me that. So let's ramp up, and then I'll give you my challenge for 2023. Now my challenge for you. If you can apply all these basic principles, they're very simple, don't cost money or too much money. If you can apply these in your 2023, I challenge you to take this on, and let's have a discussion at the end of 2023. Earnings. My takeaway points for you. Treat saving as an expense. If you say you're going to save 10% of your income, don't just let it sit around on that account. Be aggressive about it. Send it to an investment fund. Send it to a fixed deposit. Make it difficult for you to access this money. Maybe have an investment club that just will not allow you to say, give me 300 million because I want to buy a new car. Send it immediately so it's not even on your account. That's what we mean by treat saving as an expenditure. Know the 50-30-20 rule. If you're making X amount of money, that is not all money to spend. You only have about 30% of that money to spend on your stuff. So that means if you're worth $1,000, your spending power is only $300. That will stop you from spending on all your revenue, especially now that we're in December. So keep this in mind, apply it. Let this money literally go out of your accounts to the different dockets it's supposed to go to. And then consistency. A friend once told me, very many people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. We just looked at the example for the rich guy. Having the same money as the poor guy, he could possibly end up saving $2,400 in the same year, with the poor guy not having anything to show for it. That's about earnings. Negotiation. Your negotiation point should not only be price. Time is also a good deal. If you can't get it now, negotiate on how long it can take you to pay for it. How can I afford it? Not only if you can afford it. How can I? So if this fails, talk about being able to afford it. But remember, to be able to negotiate on time, you must appear credible. And one of those big things is actually a financial card. Yeah? That shows that you have options beyond what is just yourself. You can't just wish things into happening. Someone should have confidence in knowing that if everything fails, you have actual viable options to cover up for that. But to be able to be credible, you must really understand financing. And I guess just start. I'm not asking you to take out a loan. I'm not asking you to take out a mortgage. No. A financial card costs under $10, about 25,000 shillings. Walk to a bank, normalize doing rich people things. Yeah? Walk to a bank, normalize having a conversation with your banker. Ask questions. This information is out there. Walk up, ask, say you want to get a financial card. It takes only 5 minutes to register you up, and in about 2 or 3 weeks, you have your financial card. This is not only for Uganda or Kenya or all around the world. Having a credit score is very, very important. And because you're not at the level of spending or defaulting yet, your credit score will be really, really high. Keep it that way. All the rich people I know how to access easy financing. Whenever you hear them floating around saying, I know a guy, it's not because they got money from this guy. They took the time to just learn and have that option ready and waiting. You don't have to run around the day you're going to do a bank transaction or a land transaction. Because you've already laid your ducks in one row, you can act in the moment. And timing is everything as far as getting rich is concerned. I'll give you that my last example under financing. I'll tell you, with your financing well worked out, you can't afford to buy only to buy a piece of land or any asset with just about 40% of what your actual money is. I did this many years ago, used 40% to finance something, and by now the property has more than doubled as far as net worth is concerned. So be able to work outside of your horizon. Money can't be the only thing that is limiting you. You're lacking options. You're lacking financing knowledge. So just learn. We'll have a session on this, but learn. This year, commit to getting your financial card. It costs you very little, and then you're that much closer to being with the rich guys. Last item, people. Know people who know people. You don't have to know the main person. You don't have to know the richest guy in the land. Take interest in what people do and who they know. They always say you are about 2 or 3 people away from the actual person you need to know. So keep this network. Do not have motives. Don't become a Joe this, Joe that guy. Know people. Keep them around because people are genuinely good. Do good for them. Wish them well, and put them into categories. Do categories. Don't go to a $10,000 problem guy for your $10 problem. Have your dockets, and as much as possible, avoid crossing to that guy. Keep these big guys for the rainy day. Thank you, and Happy New Year.